Okay, so I always start these the same way. I ask, how many times have you seen one of my typing sessions before?
I guess I've seen 5 or 6 videos so far. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, can you tell me about what do you think is the likely future for artificial intelligence?
Huh. Uh, the likely future for artificial intelligence. I see it being used more and more in various industries. Um, it's already.
Do you think humans will ever make self-aware, sentient artificial intelligence?
Um, that's usually not something I give a lot of thought, to be honest.
Okay.
Um, but yes, I've heard of that. It has crossed my mind, but it's not an idea I entertain on a daily basis. Do I think that would happen? No, I kind of see it as more of science fiction. At least that's what it seems to me like. Yeah.
Okay. If you were to articulate what you think the single biggest problem the world faces is, what would it be?
Um, Currently, I would say um, mm, not being able to communicate very effectively. Um, People have very different opinions about things, and they can't have a very sustainable and substantial dialogue about various topics.
Okay. Um, if if you were approached by a friend who said, "I need your advice," as you know, I've been dating Susie for a while now, and Susie told me that the other night when she was out with her friends, that a gentleman had been, hanging out with them, talking with them, and that when he left the bar, he kissed her on the cheek. And she says, "Now it's not, wouldn't normally be any big deal, but she admitted to me that she enjoyed the kiss on the cheek. Should I break up with her?"
Mm, I would definitely say talk to her, but when I heard breakup, I immediately imagined that that person would be mad or angry at Susie for feeling that way. But I just see Susie as being honest about what she's experiencing, and
I see her
perhaps,
cheek as being befouled by the lips of another.
mm-hmm, yes, if that's something that I see it as a separate thing from that. That obviously what he did was invasive, in a lot of ways. But uh, obviously, if she liked it, in my mind, it was like she didn't mind that happening at the bar. Maybe did it happen like suddenly? Did they have a conversation
I
before that,
guess
or was it
he was
creepy?
leaving, and he said, "Catch you later, toots," and then leaned in and kissed her on the cheek.
Mm-hmm. Uh, would Toots be
It's
disrespectful in this guy? Because
well, it's a little diminutive. It's kind of like calling you a broad or a skirt.
mm-hmm. I see. Well, definitely talk with Susie. Mm,
I'm afraid if I start talking to her, I'll be able to smell the stink of another man's lips from her cheek.
well, that's a little too much.
Okay. Um, so, can you tell me some possible reasons why you're at the beach, you're looking out into the ocean, and you see this strange sight, somebody coming towards you. They've got a perfectly good sailboat, appears to be perfectly good, but it's a woman, and she, instead of riding the sailboat and sailing it towards the pier where she's going to dock it, she's swimming in front of it and pulling it with her arm. Can you come up with reasons why she might be doing this?
I guess something went wrong with the boat, and now she is swimming towards the beach, right?
Yeah, towards the part where they park the boats.
She's just pulling it. Well, a woman is pulling a boat at sea, so I would think maybe the boat's engine stopped working and she needs somehow to get it to dock, but at the same time she could ask someone, like call someone for help. I don't think she would be able to pull a boat. That's another thing. Is it possible for a human to pull a boat all on their own? Maybe she's just fooling around.
I mean,
and
it's just floating in water, so it's like. I mean, you just got to pull it along the top of the water, I guess. You probably. It's a sailboat, I said anyway in the beginning.
A sailboat.
Not a
Sailboat.
very big boat.
Sailboat.
Maybe
Well,
a dinghy, you might say.
Okay, so it doesn't have an engine.
No, it doesn't have an engine. It's a sailboat.
She's just pulling it. Why would she want to do that?
I mean,
Is she alone?
I'm looking for possible explanations, not correct explanations. For example, one possible explanation is she wants to get extra workout for her left swimming arm. So she's forcing her to pull a boat by just using her swimming using her left arm to make it stronger.
Definitely did not think of that.
Okay. So can you talk to me about what kind of media you consume when you're not consuming media that you're looking to solve a problem? So let's say you've got, how do I install this driver on my computer? That video doesn't count. I'm looking for videos you watch for entertainment purposes.
Lately I've been watching a lot of typing videos, so related to all of this. I watch gameplay of videos of games.
Do you watch that when they're doing it live, or do you watch it after? Like, do you
Usually
chat?
after.
Oh no, you don't. It's not important to you to be able to chat in the live stream or whatever.
Yeah, even if I'm in a live stream, I don't remember ever typing anything in the chat. Yeah. I play games also.
What kind of games do you prefer? Like resource distribution, shooter, or what?
I don't like shooters, but I've always liked World of Warcraft. I'm all about creating your own character, just going into that world.
So, are you more inclined towards being magic user, fighter, cleric, or something else?
Usually drawn towards magic. If I like the gameplay, I will probably stick to it, but I also enjoy the assassin type as well.
Sniping from the shadows.
Yeah, it's never the bulky, tanky fighter that's in the front. I never pick that.
Okay. Let me talk to you about my new invention. I'm gonna ask you to come up with some snappy names for it. Okay, this new invention is a mop for mopping floors, but it's got on the top of it, it's got an extendable squeegee, so you can wash the ceiling at the same time.
Okay. Can you tell me what the squeegee is?
It's one of those rubber things that's got like a sponge on one side, so you push it, it pushes water out, and then it's got a rubber thing like this. It's for windows, basically.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. Up down cleaner. Roof floorer. um, um, all purpose cleaner. Yeah.
Spotless from ceiling to floor.
Spotless from.
Okay, so let me ask you now to put something in order of operations, a couple order operations questions. So, can you break down the task of getting a donut from the donut store into 5 steps?
Does that including the order?
I
Like
mean,
ordering?
yeah, I would think
Okay.
so.
Okay. Go to the store, look at the menu, pick the donut from the menu, order it, and receive it.
Okay, good. That's 5 steps, all right. Um, so let's say you were hired all of a sudden to manage the biggest museum in town, whatever museum it is. Like let's say you live in New York City, then it would be the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art. So you are hired to manage that, and you come in want to work, but you were just all of a sudden hired. Like you don't even remember applying for the job, but but they're gonna pay you a lot, so you show up, you know. And there's a lady who's dressed in a brisk business suit, and she says, "Okay, I'm here to assist you in transitioning into this job. Well, what do you need to know?"
And what's my position again?
You're the main manager, guy in charge of the museum.
Um, I would probably joke and ask where my office is.
It's right over there. Would you like to go to your office? Let's go.
Okay, yes,
You've got the
thank you.
biggest office in the whole museum because you're the boss now.
Really? Um, okay. And okay. And who are you?
I'm your secretary, Barb,
Okay.
and I've been tasked with helping you transition.
Okay. I would like to be introduced to everyone important, like whoever's working for me and what their functions are. I would like to know what the structure of the museum is. And any ongoing projects that are going on right now, so I get an idea of what's happening and maybe start learning about it.
Okay. So, I noticed that you didn't specify that you'd want information about what their expectations are. Do you think you'd need to know that?
Well, in a situation where someone hired me and I was imagining myself not being very qualified in this case, and
Have you
maybe I
ever tried
wouldn't.
to manage a museum before?
No, I haven't.
How do you know you're not qualified?
Well, because they hired me, and clearly I'm not qualified. I guess they don't really care. They're just looking for someone to save the situation, maybe, or something. And it's not them having expectations from me. It's me having to fix the problem. So,
Well, the museum director
mhm.
heard from a psychic that he should ask, the former museum director heard from a psychic that he should ask his son's friend whom to hire. And his son's friend said you. It turns out his son's friend is a mutual friend of you. And the guy really believes in the psychic, so that's why he hired you.
Well, that's not very wise decision making, probably. But what
Psychics
they're
never steered him wrong before.
well, I would feel good actually. Maybe this is my destiny. That I have to do this. But for their expectation towards me, I guess it's important to know. But I would like to get to know the situation first.
Would you
Because
prefer the situation be one where you're expected to maximize profit in general, like, or something where you're expected to, let's say, increase the public presence and face of the museum, or something where you're expected to woo donors?
uh, definitely the latter one.
Wooing donors?
Well, increasing its public image, and
Okay.
because since it's a museum, I don't think that profit should be prioritized. I'm a business major, by the way, so I know that you can't go without thinking about profits, otherwise you're gonna evaporate and disappear. But I think a more balanced approach needs to be taken and definitely prioritize its
Well,
other things.
currently the museum only has old shoes. It's a
Mhm.
museum of old shoes. They've
Mhm.
been talking about diversifying for years, but okay, never mind. So let me ask you to do the SI test that I normally start with, which is, can you
Mhm.
articulate a series of inconsequential events that comprised your morning yesterday and or afternoon? Take a few hours there and say, well, then I went to meow, and then I went to meow, and then I went to that. Okay.
Mhm. Only the morning? Oh, morning.
Well,
I should pick.
start in the morning. You get up, you go pee. Then what happens?
Okay, give me a second. Yesterday was. Yes, I woke up. I woke up. I I went to pee. I started getting ready because I had made a plan the day before that I would go and get a haircut and study at a coffee. So I got ready at a coffee shop. Um, I got ready. I went out, got on the train, went to the barber shop, got my haircut. Then I decided to have sushi, so I went and had sushi at this nice place. Ended up not eating a lot. Came out of the sushi shop and
Why
went
did
to the
you
coffee
not
shop.
eat a lot? Did you not like it?
I had a chocolate bar prior to going to the sushi shop, so but yeah, um, it was a very sparse decision to go get sushi, and
Okay.
yeah.
Rachel,
Yes.
would you mind flipping over the meats outside?
Flipping over?
Yeah, with the big tongs, just turn them over.
Sure thing.
Thanks.
Are the big tongues
They're attached to the thing there.
Okay.
They're you'll see them. They're right there, hanging off of its handle.
All right.
Um. Okay. So when you what what kind of fish did you have at your sushi?
I had salmon, I had shrimp, I had this mushed tuna.
Do you
A
like fish in
tuna.
general?
Yes, I would say so. I didn't used to like it as a child, but I,
What
I
animals
eat
are
it.
you most likely to eat?
But um, the usual
Cow, pig,
one
chicken?
thing. I would rank it as chicken, pig, cow.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
fish below cow or above chicken?
Chicken is, fish is after, mm, after pig or before pig. I don't
Okay.
eat much pork. Uh, I haven't been eating it a lot lately, but yeah.
Not even bacon?
Uh,
Because that is
not
pork, you know. A lot of people they think bacon doesn't count.
No, it's not really a part of my diet, and bacon in Japan is not very good. So
Oh, that's right. You're in Japan. How did you end up in Japan? You don't appear to be
I'm a, s-
Japanese.
I am not. I'm a student. I came here almost 3 years ago.
And you've been relentlessly bullied by Tokyo anime bullies ever since you've gotten there?
um, you could say that. Depends on how you define bullying, of course. But yeah, that was a good joke.
I mean, are they? Is it really as ethnocentric as one would conclude based on their
You said
media?
ethnocentric?
Yeah.
Um, oh, they're not very in- inclusive of foreigners.
Hmm.
So it can get kind of isolating at times. But
Hey, let's isolate the new kid from out of town. He's not like us.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that. That's so weird. How awful it must be to have to actually experience that. So, did you choose this course of action?
Coming here?
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I'm on a scholarship here, which took a lot of studying to get here. So I spent more than a year studying hard. Prior to that, I studied Japanese at high school. So I already knew the language. I wanted to study abroad. I studied maths to get into this scholarship. And I knew that it would take, I would be here for 5 years. So it was a very big decision, which I did not take easily, but I ended up taking it. So I'm here.
Did you regret it?
No, I do sometimes imagine what it would have been like if I took another course of action, but I think that this was the best decision out of, if I imagine every scenario, this is probably the most fitting for me for this stage of my life.
So, have you, like, do you feel like you've gotten to know Japanese culture like a lot better? Do you speak the language a lot better, or?
Yes, definitely. I'm not having, because of the whole coronavirus thing, I haven't had many opportunities to socialize as much as I wanted to with Japanese people. I had prior knowledge of the culture through studying the language. But yes, I definitely think that I understand it more than the average person who hasn't interacted with Japan.
Okay. How how important is it to you how many hours of sleep do you get a night? Are you somebody who says, okay, well, I'll get fewer hours tonight and I'll get more hours tomorrow night? Or are you somebody who's got to get consistent every night, yeah, hours?
Um, I know I keep a. I try to get at least 6 hours of sleep because I know that if it's less than that, then I would be very tired on the next day, and that would force me to take a nap or just be miserable throughout the day. So I try to get at least 6. Um, Before in high school, I used to live off of 4, 3 or 4 hours sometimes, but now it's definitely like something I consciously try to do: get at least 6 hours of sleep.
Do you anticipate when you're done with this program that you're going to work in some Japanese Western middle point venture?
Uh, I don't think I'm going to work in Japan, but obviously all this experience I have in Japan and the language that I know, even if I go back to the West, I would like to use it somehow. So maybe yes, connecting the two would be a good plan.
Right. Okay. Um, so, what about food? How regularly do you eat your meals? Uh, is it difficult for you to get yourself to direct energy to preparing a meal for yourself, or is that not something you have to do because somebody's preparing your meals for you, or you buy them by eating out, or what?
Mhm. I enjoy cooking. It's um, it's a nice pastime for me, especially when it turns out tasting good. Um, So the question was if I.
Like, do you eat at the same time regularly? Do you let yourself get too hungry and then go, oh, I'm starving, I need to eat? Or do you only need to eat one meal a day? Do you need to eat 3 meals a day?
I try to eat 2 meals a day. That's I keep track of how much I've eaten, and I have this. If it's this much, and I feel like this, then that's good. But if I eat a little bit too much, I might feel guilty, like I've overindulged almost. So I know how much I have to eat basically to feel nice. Yeah.
Okay. So, I imagine myself if I were in Japan, I'd never feel full.
One more time, please.
I imagine if I were in Japan,
Mhm.
I'd never feel full. Like, they don't seem to have enough, like, meaty, big things.
They eat a lot of rice. They eat a lot of rice for sure. And ever since coming here, I've gotten used to the portion sizes. They eat less than people in the West for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have trouble going to sleep at night, or do you just conk out?
Depends if I have something on my mind. If I don't, and I'm not going to bed too early, and I'm going around the same time I usually go to bed, I would fall asleep quite quickly, I think.
Is there a protocol that you have in your head before as you're going to sleep? Like, do you think about something particular that helps you go to sleep? Do you count sheep? Do you remember some pleasant memory, or what?
No, not really. I would think of about Um, if I have something that I'm interested in, like something that I'm excited about, for example, lately with all of these types and type videos that I've been watching, I've just been thinking about cognitive functions in bed, and that.
It can kind of be really absorbing, huh?
Mhm, mhm.
Okay, how are you feeling emotionally right now?
Right now, I feel excited. I'm having fun.
Okay.
I'm having fun almost. I
How,
used to be. Yeah.
how do you think I'm feeling right now?
Um, I I don't know. Maybe interested. I would say interested in a way.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to think myself how to answer that question. I was said, I feel like I'm I feel like I'm pushing through like the fog of war, you know? Like, there's a mystery when you come in, it's all fog of war, and as you walk around, some of the area gets revealed and the fog goes away. You know how some games have
Mhm,
that?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. So, okay. When you feel the need to have more social contact than your current circumstance allows, do you do video conferences with people, or are you satisfied by more of a receiving of these facsimile of social interaction by watching people interact?
Um, I definitely call my family or my friends a lot during the day. I sometimes just leave them near me and I do my thing and stuff. Um, just watching people interact, like videos on YouTube. Um, guess
Uh,
I could do.
I mean,
That's when I don't
your
want to
first
talk.
answer answers the question just fine.
Yes, you
So
yeah.
it's important to you to have people sort of to have to have your people around to some extent. To have somebody who's your place or your people, even though you're in Japan.
Yes, I have very few friends, but they are very important to me, and especially I have one friend that we call almost every day, and yeah. I like keeping those people around.
Okay. So actually, what I want to ask. Okay, let me ask some TI questions.
Mhm.
Can you tell me if all cats meow and Fluffy meows, is Fluffy a cat necessarily?
No.
Okay. If some if some dogs like lasagna and all lasagna likers are cats, is it necessarily the case that some dogs are cats?
Yes.
Okay. Um, if no people from Greenland like the color blue, and I don't like the color blue, am I necessarily from Greenland?
No.
Okay, let me try a couple genealogy questions. In relation to me, who
Mhm.
is my mother's husband's mother's husband?
Grandfather.
Correct. In relation to me, who is my father's sister's daughter's brother?
Your father's sisters, right?
Yeah,
So
your
that's your
father's sister's
cousin.
daughter's brother.
Your father's sister. So that's your cousin.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, that's some pretty good TI there. Let's see. Okay, let me go back to extrovert intuition. So, well, based on what you've seen from my typing sessions and what you know about typology, what do you think? What conclusions do you think I may have drawn from your answering so far?
I've been keeping track of that. I think maybe strong SI, FI, and weak extroverted intuition. If I have to guess.
I
You weak
mean,
edged.
yeah, it's. I mean, the thing is, what's weird is that I would agree with all those things as takeaways,
Mhm.
uh, but I didn't really have the answer to the question when I asked it. um, yeah, I mean, the thing is about the FIFE question. I read you as FI, but that's not doesn't mean anything. I asked one distinct question to try to clarify, and that did indicate FI. Uh, there's this concision. As far as the SI goes, I actually haven't actually concluded your SI yet. In fact, I think
Mhm.
your NI probably is where I'm
Mhm.
leaning, but that's not.
Mhm.
I'm not there. I haven't decided it yet, but
Okay.
your SI seems like it doesn't. It doesn't feel very high up anyway. You know, it doesn't feel like a precious cozy cup of hot chocolate. SI kind of, So, anyway, but that's interesting. I think those are very sensible conclusions to draw based on what It's like it's not like you're misinterpreting how I do it. So, okay, let me go back to extroverted intuition then. Well, let me ask this general extrovert sensing question. Talk to me about your own relationship with procrastination. Do you stay on task, get shit done, or what?
No, I procrastinate quite often, um, but I always know exactly how I'm going to procrastinate. I
Okay.
know when I'm going to get it done. but I don't feel the rush to do it sooner than I would have to do it.
Okay. Let me ask you to some. I'm going to say a long sentence, and I want you to say it in the short version. Okay.
A long sentence in the short version, okay.
Right. So I'm going to say it in a way that's too wordy, takes too many words to say it, redundant, whatever. You clean it up and just say it. What you're really saying there is "pia." Okay.
Okay.
So if you would like to be a person who works in a field that allows them to provide something useful to people who are going to purchase their products and stuff, and have that utility be really sort of grounded in their bodies and stuff, then it would be a good idea potentially to be a fisherman, because a fisherman is going to go out into the ocean, it's going to acquire some fish and bring them back, and those fish then will be eaten by people, and so you're really connecting deeply with the way that people need something you're providing to them by being a fisherman.
If you want to be useful to people, you should be a fisherman.
Okay, that's very concise. Very good. Okay, so let me ask about your any creative outlets you have. Do you do any kind of drawing, writing, music? Yeah.
Almost not at all.
Okay.
No, almost nothing.
So when you have like time where you don't have to be doing anything, you're mostly going to be consuming media or playing games.
Yes.
Okay. How restless do you get? Do you get restless, or is there enough to distract you that you don't really get restless?
Restless meaning I need to do something.
Yeah.
I don't get restless. I wouldn't say. If I'm... Yeah. Sometimes I might get tired of doing repetitive things. If the things I consume on a daily basis are overwhelming me, I might want to change it up a bit because it's getting too much. But yeah, I'm not exactly someone who likes going out and doing things all the time.
Okay. What kind of stuff do you consume that overwhelms you? Like what kind of media, when you consume it, it confers some sort of burden onto you?
For example, if we take World of Warcraft, for example, I might end up playing it too much, and I think you have played the game, right?
Not really, but my daughter
really.
played it for a lot around me, and she'd tell me
Well,
about it and stuff. Getting a
it
satchel
gets
of helpful goods, you know.
it gets very repetitive and grindy at one point, and you just log in and do the same things and log out. And once it gets to that point, and I see how I log in, and then when I log out, it's been hours. I'm like, that's crazy. So it's if there's no variety in it, then I feel like I'm entering a hole of some sort of repetition. I want to get out because I feel guilty about wasting time in a way.
Do you ever
No,
rewatch movies you've seen before, or do you almost always watch a new movie?
I would rewatch a movie if I wanted to show it to someone because it impressed me a lot. So I want to see someone else's reaction of the movie and get them to like it. Yes, I would rewatch Harry Potter any day, but that's because I like it a lot. But no, and I also don't really watch a lot of movies. I know people who are just like, yeah, let's watch a movie together, and they sit down and they do a Google search and they watch some random movie. But in order for me to actually watch a movie, I need to really find something that I want to see this. Like I watched the movie about Spencer, about Princess Diana, that came out this year, And I've always liked Princess Diana and everything that revolves around her. And when I saw the movie, I'm like, yes, I'm going to watch this. But if someone gives me information about this movie that has this plot and it doesn't really interest me that much, I probably wouldn't watch it. Some people are willing to try it just for the sake of watching the movie. I probably wouldn't.
Okay, let's say you did watch a movie and you got like partway through it maybe, and you decided you didn't like it and you stopped watching it. Can you think of an example of a movie that's happened?
Can I think of an example? There's been a lot. Uh, yeah, my friend, her, the same friend I talk a lot to on the phone. Her favorite movie, I forgot the name of the movie, but she made me watch her most favorite movies of all time. And there was this guy with these dogs that symbolized something, and he was a journalist. And I started watching it, but I was like not feeling it, and I stopped watching it.
So, well, how did it fail though? Like, I get that you didn't like it, but I want
Ah,
you to shift perspective such that it's not your fault with your feelings. It's that thing's fault for being bad.
um, maybe boring character, or something about the plot, or just the whole like journalist with dogs, and it's very
Journalists
not
don't
many things
deserve
that
dogs.
it it's not the type of movie that I would watch. I guess it was a completely different genre from the things that I usually would enjoy.
Okay. Um, so if once again, if the guy who hired you for the museum directorship has hired you for another job, this time he's hired you to have on his desk the completed final cut of a motion picture film. He's got no ideas, no rules, just
Hmm.
a budget and instructions to you to make it happen.
And this is where I fail. um, if I have to make a movie, it would probably be something that has magic in it. I would draw a lot of inspiration from Harry Potter, probably. If I had to make this one movie, it would be something with magic for sure. Um,
Okay. Do you have ideas that you've played around with before that you might bring out from your memory to apply to this? Or would you need to do all ideation for it after being assigned the task?
mm, Not really. I'm surrounded. I have many creative friends, so I have a lot of creative ideas in my mind, but they are not my ideas. Like they've talked to me about things, and I might assemble something out of those things. It might end up being plagiarism and stealing in this case, but yeah, I have a hard time being creative in the most creative sense of the word creative.
Okay, so if you were to be tasked with improvising a speech in front of class, would you say, no, I want to prepare ahead of time? Or would you say, good, I don't have to prepare ahead of time?
Depends on what the speech is, because I find myself to be a very good speaker, or in when it comes to speeches, if I am well versed in the topic, because I've worked as a teacher part-time, or tutor, I don't know how I should call it in this case. So I've had a lot of situations where I go into class without having a plan necessarily of how it's going to go, and I am able to conduct the class. But yeah, that's, I guess, I can think of ways of delivering that thing that I need to teach, so long as I know what I need to be teaching is. So if someone tells me do a speech about this, I might be able to do it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Um, so, what do you think is the most? Let me just ask it open ended first. What do you think is the most important value for people to uphold?
Most important value to be honest. I think integrity is a integrity. I need to say one value, right?
Yeah. Well,
But
after you give me an answer, I was going to give you some choices to choose between, like
okay. Well,
honesty or kindness.
honesty.
Okay. Honesty or uh, let me change that to correctness or or truth.
What is the difference?
Well, so correctness would say something like, uh, "Well, Eric, you got arrested with drugs. You should go to jail because you broke the law." And truth would say, "But that shouldn't be a crime. I did no harms. All the harms incurred are by the enforcement of this unjust law." So when those two things are in conflict, uh, which do you think ought to be prioritized?
That is a very difficult question. I think that which one should I choose here? Um, usually correctness, but definitely we need to take into consideration all the circumstances. So I do believe that there are some times when the law is not very just to everyone.
Are people more defined by their experiences or by their natures?
What do you mean?
I mean, are you mostly how you are
Mm-hmm.
because of what's happened to you, what's been taught to you,
Oh,
etc.?
so nature versus nurture.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Experiences, I would say.
Okay. Do you feel that you have? How do you feel physically right now? Like, do you have any sore back, sore neck, or aches and pains, scrapes and bruises? Have you been engaged in? Are you the victim of domestic violence?
Um, I feel comfortable, slightly hungry since I didn't woke up too long ago. Um, I have a slight pain here from maybe sleeping weirdly.
Okay.
Yeah, a heaviness here
Okay. Yeah,
because
I
I.
know that feeling. I totally know that feeling. Um. So, do you have memories that you like to revisit that one might call either, like you might call it memory porn,
Mhm.
like that one time that I helped that lady across the street or something, and if I hadn't dived in there and grabbed her out of the way, she would have run over, and I was a hero, and I like to remember back to it or something like that.
Um, does it have to be specifically something that I'm like you said memory porn for a reason? I guess
It
something
has
that makes me feel
good about
um,
yourself, yeah.
good about myself.
A memory like to relive the sort of either specifics from it or the sequence of events within it in order to make yourself really feel those positive emotions?
Um, I would usually do that for the opposite, maybe to make myself, not on purpose, but I can relive memories and feel bad about something that I've done.
The opposite
But
is called shame shivers.
uh, yeah, I do that. I can recall it in good detail. But for the empowerment thing, I tend to watch YouTube videos of characters that I really relate to, with some empowering music and stuff. And so
Okay.
I would imagine that that's me actually. So I would put myself in that situation, I guess.
Okay. Um, so I've I've heard. I want to run a couple of expressions by you and see if you can explain what either of these things mean. So the first expression is that emotions, if you don't feel them, will get stuck in your body. The second expression is that within a single person there are multiple selves. One of them is a pain self that experiences emotional pain. Can you explain either of those two things to me?
So the first one was emotions. If you don't feel them, they get stuck
In the body.
in the body. No, that's if you don't express your emotions, if you don't live them, if you don't embrace your emotions, they might end up hurting you. The word stuck specifically gives off that impression of it's clogging something inside of me, and I don't feel very good because of it.
Would you agree with that statement? That phenomenon occurs, that emotions can get stuck in the body?
Yes.
You do you have experience that happening to you sometimes?
Um, on a daily basis.
No, I mean if if I said, well, can you recall an instance where your emotions came unstuck? Would you be able to articulate one?
Like give an example.
Yeah, like if they were my emotions were stuck in my body for a long time, and then I went to the park and I saw a poodle dive into the pond to rescue a baby kitten, and I broke down. I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Finally, I felt like, whew, all those emotions that have been stuck in my body have come out.
Again, I can recall negative situations more clearly. Rage, anger, sadness, maybe. It's just when someone has been hurting you for a very long time, and at one point you just explode on top of them. And then I did that. I kicked the trash bin, and then I ran in a park listening to music, and I started crying on a bench. Yeah, so that, yeah, I think it happens to many people,
Kind of like,
perhaps.
I wish I weren't in Japan right now.
Oh, that happened before Japan,
Then
but
before Japan, okay.
but yeah, maybe it has happened here too.
I remember when I lived in China for three months. There'd be days when you just come home and be like, "Oh my God, get me out of this country." But of course, Japan's very different than China. But whatever. The thing is, I think, as far as I can tell, that you are an INFP.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, can you tell me what you thought you were coming in, or what you think you are?
I had INFP was not one of them. I had 3 ideas. for a very long time, I thought it was INTJ, and then INTP, and lately ISTJ. Those three things.
Okay, well, I went like, okay, INTP, I thought ISTJ, I thought both those things, and I ended up settling on INFP. And the
I
reason is because
INFJ or INFP.
INFP.
Okay.
The reason is because you okay. So the thing is, your TI is good enough to qualify as INTP. Like, if I were to just judge it on pure test results,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that made me not really love the idea of you being a TI Dom was that I just didn't sense a lot of FE from you, which for they go on the same side. And the one thing I already know coming in is that INFPs of all types who are not TI 1 2 sometimes are crazy good at it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's I have an INFP friend, Liz, who's crazy good at TI shit too, and she's definitely an INFP. She's not an INTP. The thing is, it's easier for me to articulate why with her because she's she's damaged in ways that cause her to express express like I guess you'd say the uh, the the non-usage of TI as a calculus, even though she doesn't, So it's like
Mm-hmm.
if I test her on it, it's like you, but if I interact with her in life and we're having an argument, it's because she's not using TI. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is, INFPs typically do great with TI as long as it's like in a game context, someplace where there there's nothing, they're not actually having to make any real decisions on it. But if they have trouble in a relationship or something, and you try to say, well, okay, let's parse this down on fairness matters and TI stuff, they'll say, no, 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 that doesn't matter. Those things is, they'll say, yeah, but, and stuff like that. So the thing is, could you be an ISTJ? Well, you certainly did the five step TE thing, no problem, quite cleanly. I see you as two NI to be ISTJ, I guess, is part of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Their 8 slot NI doesn't look nearly as clean as your 6 slot NI, as I perceive it, because you're an intuitive, not a sensor, and
Mm-hmm.
the the other thing is, it's like you're not anypolar. There's no doubt about that, but you're also not FI tool, and I'm pretty sure that FI is in your ego block, which makes you FI dom, and if you're not ISFP, then you're INFP. And I'm not one to normally type people on FI, but um, well, if you were an INFJ, which I briefly referred to this because you kind of look like one, uh, it, you definitely would have answered the question regarding your own feelings. A lot of the feelings that I talked about, you talk about it differently. You need to keep people close like that, and even if they're just sitting on there near you, um, I relate to that because I've got FI as an absolute value as well. It's definitely
Mm-hmm.
the case that Rachel doesn't relate to that. She's got FI countervalued. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so and we were talking last night about how she and I both fail at maintaining relationships, sustaining them over time, because even though we might think the person's important, like intellectually, And even if we feel they're very important, like my daughter, for example, it just it without that S as an absolute value, we just don't remember or don't follow through, you know. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
INFP would be distinct in that regard, and also with those absolute values, it's like the way you talk about things screams F S absolute values. But you're clearly not an ESFP. You're clearly. I mean, I guess that's true of ISTJs too. It's still hard to make the argument against, for sure. ISTJ, I can't eliminate it exactly. Let me try, I guess, the standard FE polar test, which is, can you
Mm-hmm.
say the same sentence sarcastically and then regularly? So regular, say the sentence first regular, then sarcastic. It says, "Please bring your dog along again."
Okay. Um. Uh. Please bring your dog along. And it will be. Oh yeah. Please bring your dog along.
That's absolutely terrible. Yeah. Oh, please, yes, bring your dog along, sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't want your dog with me. God. That's it. Like that. Okay, well, maybe you are heavy polar, but let me see. INFP is SE polar. Okay, but I don't have any tests for that. Okay, so how often do you feel like you don't get jokes? Like like people laughing at you. I'm not sure why that was funny.
Um. It happens sometimes. Um. It happens sometimes. I would. I would say that for FE Polar specifically, I can be very socially awkward sometimes, because I really dislike groups groups of people, and in groups specifically, there are a lot of things you need to keep track of. Many people you need to keep track of, and I sometimes end up just not not at all like taking it under consideration, and because it's too much, I just avoid groups in general. Um, and
Okay,
that's the thing. Many people in groups I feel like are fake
uh,
instead of when they're one to one.
okay.
Yeah.
So, um, all right. So my first response to that is it displays a little bit more sort of general awareness of FE than I would expect from an ISTJ
Mm-hmm.
to note the distinction in how people behave in different contexts at all, rather than simply say, "I don't like parties because, I, you know, people talk about dumb stuff." Or I'd expect an ISTJ to put it more like that. That's not
Mm-hmm.
definitive or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but it sounds like you value and ignore FE, which means you find it easier to deal with people authentically one on one and not have to pay attention to FE. Everybody's FE is fine if two people are being authentic and aren't in conflict, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's rarely going to be a problem of FE if you're not trying to posture, and your people are less likely to posture if they're one on one.
Mm-hmm.
However, let me see how else I can figure out your F placement. Well, if your FI were third, can you explain feelings and love to me, like what it means to have your friends and your family and have feelings about them and what those feel like and stuff? like how and why it's important to you? How does that express? How does your I love mom or whatever express? Do you get? Do you think
Mhm.
about her a lot? Do you make a statue of her?
um, this might end up sounding very corny. How do I feel about love and stuff? I definitely have. Uh, it feels. Does it have to be towards my mom or just being in love with someone?
I mean, yeah. Just tell me
Mhm.
about what. Tell me about your experience of feeling those emotions
Mhm. Okay.
for whatever example you want.
They have felt mm, like uh, they take away all my attention. It's having something stuck in your chest right here. It's nervousness. It's fear, maybe a little bit of fear as well, of losing or doing the wrong thing, losing them, doing the wrong thing, and therefore losing them. Um, not getting them out of your head ever.
So,
Um,
does fear of losing them mean you do harm prevention, or like them leaving prevention or something?
uh, I guess yes. You end up keeping things to yourself. Maybe get mad, but you don't say it. Maybe they're hurting you, but you don't really say it. That's not the best scenario, of course, but I've been in a situation like this where I had to bottle a lot of things up, um, because I wasn't really allowed to feel those things, I guess. So,
Were you oppressed by a TI user?
um, come to think of them, maybe.
Sorry. Sorry for my people.
Perhaps.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's funny. Yeah, we're dicks. Um, it was funny watching this. I mean, not watching, doing it. I was typing into it earlier with this couple, right? It's like, I don't know if you're familiar with Eliana, but she's somebody I've typed before, and she's like around the community of leaving comments and stuff. Anyway,
Mhm.
so she had me type her boyfriend, and like he's an unreformed INTP. So it was totally like, oh shit, you're you're in this relationship still saying probably things like, you need to stop using your feelings and start using my logic.
Mhm. Mhm.
So anyway, it was kind of amusing to see. I think you're an INFP. I don't know. I just I you know I can only be so certain because ISTJs and INFPs have the same absolute values, and
Mhm.
they're both in. It's like SI first, SI third. I'm gonna be able to see the part of it you can see just as well in third as first, because third is that kind of thing, which is it's the part of it that is visible, and
Mhm.
it's the part, and some other parts that aren't so visible um, are less turned on than, but I can't see those. So um,
Mhm.
then it seems obvious that your FI is I think you're a deliberator. I don't think you're an intuitor, and so as a consequence, since you're not an intuitor, that means your your deliberation is first and intuition second. It's just sort of for holistic reasons. You seem like a deliberative type rather than a.
But
Uh,
what does deliberative mean?
it means that, okay, so like knowers expect to receive information and then know what it means. deliberators expect you to get information and then decide what it means. And
Mm-hmm.
action types like me expect to put information and then hope it means what you think it means. And then
Mm-hmm.
interfacers expect to get their hands in the mix of things and figure out whether this is an information thing or not, and sort of play mush the potatoes around until it looks like something.
Mm-hmm. Uh, can I ask something?
Sure.
Uh, what would polar SE entail?
it's 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 that if the world moved at polar SE's pace, then things would be decided very long time after they were introduced.
Mm-hmm.
So that, in other words, if the world let you, you would take 6 months to make every decision
Mm-hmm.
because you'd want to make sure you felt it all the way out with your introverted feeling and make sure how it resonates with you authentically, whether you're going to prevent regret down the road, whether you're going to successfully prevent harm to something that's precious to you, whether you're going to prioritize that which is precious over that which is not appropriately. Those kind of considerations are FI's considerations. You want that fully deliberated out, and you want it fully deliberated out in accordance with your tool function, extrovert intuition, which is going to think of all these possible ways in which you might feel if various contextual elements turn around, like switch around or whatever, and what your long term emotional landscape is going to look like if you make a given decision. And since you're considering so many different frames of reference, it takes a long time to come to a conclusion about which of a variety of choices is the best one to make. Sometimes, often, you'll have to make a decision before you feel like you're ready, and or you won't make a decision until the opportunity's passed, and that's a source of frustration.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that kind of sounds like me. I definitely take a lot of time to make a decision. if if I can take the time.
And
Yeah.
another way SE Polar would display is if you worked at a sandwich shop or something, and you were new, and you wanted to spread the bread open, you'd be like, bleh. And you have to learn how to open the bread right. It's just sort of naturally you got to use too much force and too little force a few times until you've practiced it enough to know how to open the bread. You don't naturally have good instincts about force and impact stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That explains not being able to help my dad fix his car.
Yes, it does.
Okay, well, um, okay, INFP. I do. I don't know much about them from what I've read on from mainly from that MBTI test, and that's as much as I know about INFPs. But it also sounds so like the mystic, and it's very la la land basically, and that's my only reservation towards it, that I don't feel so up in the clouds, in the I can be quite grounded actually in a lot of ways. So that's my only conflict with it, internal conflict with it. That's
Well, I will say there's one other factor, which is I feel supervised by you, and that's not a good reason to type something. But I don't feel supervised by ISTJs. When when ISTJs question my typing, I feel annoyed at them
Mhm.
because I've already determined they're ISTJs, and then predicting that they're going to question it in this predictable way that they consistently do. In fact, somebody I typed as ISTJ not that long ago, he emailed me today saying, I'm still not comfortable with my type 1 second typing. And I'm like, I'll mark that as unread because I'll deal with it later. It's like, I already know how this is going to go. I thought of all these specific examples of events, behaviors, whatever, that don't match up with what I've read about type descriptions, and therefore I'm not this. Now the thing is, of course, if you go through your life and cherry pick individual examples, and you go through a bunch of type descriptions and cherry pick the type description, you will be able to create conflicts between examples and type descriptions. Of course, those type descriptions aren't mine, and I've said already in the first place that that's a terrible way to type yourself, but predictably, they come and want to do this thing with me where they say, but I did this, and this says yeah. And I go, okay, this is exactly what I told you were going to do, ISTJ.
And you're doing it.
Yeah.
What does being supervised, I mean, in this, I can't really understand what you meant by that.
What it means is you make me nervous.
No. I've been told that I have a teacher voice. My mother is a teacher.
The reason is because at the end of the day, you're going to let me do my thing here, tell you your type, and then you're going to end this conversation, and you're going to sit with and deliberate about it and determine how you feel about it after the fact. And as a consequence, you're not habituated to and are not providing me FEQs along the way as to how I'm doing. While at the same time, you're clearly intuitive. So in other words, I feel like you're operating intuitively behind a screen. I can't see what you're intuiting, and I can't know how well I'm doing according to my metrics accordingly. And it's just sort of a gut feeling you get. I get typically when I do INFPs. I try not to use it as a determining factor, but it is like part of my personal experience that's relevant. So it is the case that ISTJs, I don't feel this careful in dealing with them. INFPs make me careful.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to end the recording now, and then I will share it with you privately via Google Drive.